Hi, all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy, and the subjects can get saucy. So, if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted chats with some of the most interesting culinary voices in the American South. This region is one of the country's vacation and retirement playgrounds. But beyond the warm weather and beautiful scenery, there's a rich culture steeped in community and often dark and complicated history, and plenty of innovation among the tradition. I'm Stephanie Burt, and I've spent a career covering this region for magazines, newspapers, and websites. And to me, the best introduction to the American South is through its food culture and the growers and makers who make it delicious. I invite you to come on the road with me from the Appalachian Mountains to the clear waters of the Gulf of Mexico and everywhere in between. I'm always hungry for that next bite, thirsty for the next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is supported today by Big Spoon Roasters. I've been a fan of these small batch nut butters for years before I interviewed co-founder Mark Overbay in 2022. And that's because they're not even in the same category of your average peanut butter. Produced in Hillsborough, North Carolina, these specialty spreads use the most sustainably sourced products available in recipes ranging from Fiji ginger almond butter that includes mission almonds, crystallized ginger, and sea salt, to a lemon cookie, cashew, and coconut butter. They make nut butters for you chocolate fans too, and limited seasonal recipes that pop up on the scene sometimes as well. Over the years, I've received jars from them a few times to play with and potentially use in recipes, but that's been an utter fail. I've just ended up eating them straight from the jar with a spoon every time. Visit BigSpoonRoasters.com to check out all the nut butters, energy bars, and even peanut butters for dogs, and order online or look for them at Whole Foods and other specialty grocery retailers. Big Spoon Roasters believes our food choices matter, and choosing Big Spoon is a delicious decision. Jael Skeffington is the co-founder and CEO of French Broad Chocolates in Asheville, North Carolina. What began in 2006 as a chocolate passion and a cafe in Costa Rica with her partner Dan has grown to 85 employees, a chocolate lounge and boutique in downtown Asheville, and an experiential chocolate factory and cafe. French Broad sources the finest cacao from farmers and producers in Costa Rica, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Peru, and transforms it into 50 tons of chocolate a year. They sell not only their bean-to-bar and craft chocolates online, but also to wholesale partners, and they directly wholesale chocolate to other artisans too, from chefs to coffee brewers. Her in-house products have won numerous Good Food Awards, and in short, Jael's world is chocolate-fueled, fueling community, a life full of flavor and connection, and the delicious potential in every day. Welcome to the Southern Fork.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have spent some time with you today. I've had such a good Asheville trip, and I feel like I've known you since we met in Greenville, and I think it was for Euphoria, maybe in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very early on now. I mean, that's 12 years away, and the factory didn't exist where we're sitting.
That's true. Yeah, this factory, which is our second iteration of Chocolate Factory, was born in the end of 2018. So in 2012, that was the year that we built our first chocolate factory.
And now how many people do you employ here? Total company?
Total company team is around 85.
Amazing. Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
that is a wonderful congratulatory thing. I still can't get over the fact with the bus and driving and the sense of adventure that you had to kind of all of a sudden land. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz, you landed on chocolate as this creative powerhouse that you could really invest your time and your passion and your life in. And I have to ask, and I know this is a huge question, but it's where I want to begin. Why chocolate? Because it's such a luxury item, and it's not like grain or barley. It's not something that a lot of humans see as something you have to live, although I think a lot of Southern Fork listeners might deny that.
I might respectfully disagree with you. We need chocolate no less than we need grain. Chocolate is a food, just like grain is a food. We can substitute. And who's to say that one of the principal purposes of food is not pleasure?
I love it.
Right? It's a survival. We need to feed our bodies to stay alive, but also what food brings to us is joy, is connection, is an offering. And that is what I believe we're here to do, is not to feed people a luxury, but to offer something that brings pleasure and something that can be an emotional exchange between humans. That to me is vital.
Well, I think we're done here. I feel like we're done with this podcast. I completely agree. And I've been repeating the quote that if food is medicine, that actually joy and pleasure is part of medicine. And of course, that can be seen, I think a lot of people can turn that into a punishment. I have to deprive myself and I have to keep myself from that. But I'm sure you hear that all the time. You hear, how are you not 500 pounds working here, right? So what is your answer for that?
I think that it's an example of looking at life through the lens of things that you want, not things that you don't want. So what I want is a meaningful experience with food that is flavorful and pleasureful. And I don't want to approach food as something that takes me away from who I am. I want it to bring me closer to who I am.
The mission of French Broad Chocolate is connecting the actual chocolate making process. I mean, you have glass windows on everything, but connecting these often unseen farmers and farms to this place on the edge of the French Broad River.
Definitely, that resonates deeply, and it is a part of our mission is building connections to the source of our food. And for chocolate, that is something that a lot of people haven't really considered. We are lucky to live in a time where people are starting to feel more connected with their local food, getting CSA shares through their local farms, or going to farmers markets, they're touring local breweries. There's so many ways to experience food and to feel that sort of primal connection. And chocolate just is coming into the conversation. Most people you would see on the menu at a restaurant, where the beef came from and where the lettuce came from, but no one, until very recently would put, the source of chocolate on a menu.
I actually am one of those people that is coming late to the party. I didn't really think about chocolate as a plant, and I think you have to think about it as a plant. To me, it comes to me and it looks like those bars right there.
Right.
And where it comes to me and it's already in a bag and it's a chocolate chip, or it's already in a chocolate budino. It's already at its final form, but it is a plant in farmers.
It is. Yes, exactly. It is not only a plant, it is people and it is place.
Oh, can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Yes. So what I mean by that is we think about our local farmers and how the sense of place is imbued by where it grows, what it grows around, who grows it, and cacao is no exception. So cacao grows in the equatorial band of 20 degrees north and south of the equator around the globe, and the flavor is, it's impacted by not only the genetics, which is the plant, and the terroir, which is the place, whether that's, the particular climate or what plants are growing around it.
Also, maybe the altitude as
And the
well,
altitude.
right? Like coffee?
Coffee actually, that's a sidebar. Coffee has so many similarities to cacao or cocoa. At this time, cocoa mostly grows around sea level, where coffee is in higher elevations.
Gotcha.
But just to get to my point is the third kind of major impactful element in the flavor of chocolate is the people. And that's the farmers who are choosing different genetic material and grafting hybrids of different genetic material, that are choosing fermentation method, that are making decisions about how they're going to dry the cacao. There are cultural traditions and different materials in different areas that impact the flavor of chocolate. So that is something that I have had the fortune to experience that. But I think a lot of people just need to hear that story to be able to even think about it.
I agree. I agree. And to think about the idea of chocolate having different tasting notes, like coffee versus, and you're going through these different tasting notes and you're talking about it having the terroir, when we just think of it as chocolate. Do you want chocolate or vanilla ice cream? Right? It's just one or one. And of course, vanilla has its own extra thing, right? We're not going to go in that direction, but you're working with farmers and you're telling me at this point, you're making a lot of product. And so you are mentioning off mic that it's a really volatile time for the cocoa industry. So can you talk to us about that volatility? And now as you're a small business, but not nearly as small as you are, I mean, you're not Hershey's or Nestle, but you're buying in a commodity way at this point, correct?
Well,
yes and no, kind of?
It is really complicated and it's really simple. Yes, cacao is mostly sold on the commodity market and the price is mostly set by the global market. So that we've always identified craft chocolate as differentiated from industrial chocolate in that the prices that we pay are above commodity prices. Well, now the commodity price of cacao is skyrocketing. It tripled in a matter of months from, roughly less than $3,000 a ton up to peaking at $12,000 a ton.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
It's a huge jump at the scale that we're at, which it feels big to us, 85 employees, 50 tons of chocolate a year sounds big to you, and
especially
to me.
When you were working in your kitchen, right?
But we are a tiny drop in the chocolate bucket,
right?
And so we don't have, the power and influence over the market. We have to figure out how to make the economics work when we are handed changes like that. There's a part of our industry, craft chocolate, which, we feel kinship with craft beer and with specialty coffee, and in that we're paying attention to process and to sourcing and
the sustainability of the people and the environment in which you're working.
Exactly. So there's a part of us, even though it's making it harder to make the economics of, food industry is notorious for being low margin already. So there's that side, which is the scarcity side, the challenge of running a business and the practicality of that. And then there's the cheerleader side of us that is yes, this is what we've wanted. We've wanted to force the hand that is paying the farmers, higher prices for the cacao market are meaningful in changing farmer income. And that's not entirely consistent. It's very complex depending on different regions of the world, what's going on in their particular market.
Mm-hmm.
But in large part, we've heard a lot of stories of farmers who are getting more money right now and who are, paying off debt and doing deferred maintenance on their farms, and it's making a difference. So,
right.
I don't think that the price of cacao will go back. Well, I don't. Experts don't, and I am here for it. The price will not ever go down to as low as it was. It will, settle out to some price.
That is a little better.
Yeah, that is better.
A lot of us don't ever even think about our sourcing locally. So to think about it across the globe, and you got that connection across the globe because you went. You were there. That's where you fell in love with and this creative entity that has taken over your life, and built a whole new industry here in Asheville. But there's also a connection that you forged in that web to local providers, right? And you work with a lot of local purveyors, not only employing a lot of locals here, 85, but I see partnerships all around this. And now they actually, through you, have a partnership to the other side of the world. That community weaving, can you talk about a few of the partners that you love working with? I know you have hundreds of them at this point.
Exactly. I think anyone and everyone, we definitely believe that collaboration is a part of the DNA of our company. It is a part of who we are. We can't separate ourselves from our community and still know who we are. That interweaving is just critical to what we offer. So anytime there's an opportunity to connect and collaborate, we're excited to do that. We are better together, and we make delicious things together. So our Mother's Day collection, we featured 6 different mom-founded local food and beverage businesses, which is just saying something about Asheville. We have 6 female-founded food and beverage businesses.
That is true. Asheville is, for those of you, it's been a long time coming for me to cover Asheville for the Southern Fork, but it's not like I haven't been up here and eaten well for years for other things. And it's just so diverse and delicious. And you have so many entrepreneurial minds in this space, right?
Right. Yeah. My experience of Asheville is that people come here to create something and they're looking for connection. And so that is manifesting here. That deep web of connection, that community is a part of what people feel when they come here. It's part of what they feel when they sit down at a restaurant and eat a plate of food with, so many partnerships represented. So yes, we are beyond grateful to be a part of the food scene here and to be interwoven into a lot of the different businesses here. But yeah, we like to, think about our global partners in the way that people think about, the farm to table mentality here, where people like to buy from their local farmers. We like that too. We source local chili peppers and coffee and nut butters and we like to have those same kind of deep, meaningful, long-term relationships with people who are in a different geographical place than we are right now, because we'll see what climate change may bring, but right now cacao doesn't grow here.
That's right.
In the States, other than Hawaii.
Correct. Speaking of collaboration and community, it's not only connecting us to who we are, it makes every day being who we are more fun. And also, it's got to be fun working in a chocolate factory. I know that I asked you earlier, I said, when I was doing Callie's Biscuits, there was a moment where I just couldn't eat pimento cheese or I couldn't eat, the cinnamon butter because I made it all day. That was a little of a lie because I did have to like decide, okay, I'm only going to have one biscuit a day instead of like 12. But you've had how many pieces of chocolate today?
Well, let's see. Watch me eat 2 while we've been sitting here. I have probably eaten 5 different chocolates today.
That's wonderful.
It still brings me pleasure, and you know, sometimes I can eat it mindlessly because I'm hungry and I'm at my desk and it's the only thing around, and have those, you know, deep tasting experiences.
Can you explain to us what makes a really good chocolate?
I mean, just like any other food, it starts with really good ingredients. We simply cannot make awesome chocolate without awesome cacao.
Right.
So sourcing ingredients is the foundation of what makes a good chocolate. And, you know, that's principally the cacao, but also in the case of milk chocolate, it's where do we get our butter? Where do we get our milk powder? In the case of a flavored chocolate, it's where are we getting our scorpion peppers? How fresh is this coffee?
Right.
All of the ingredients are the foundation of that flavor and quality experience. And then there's, you know, a whole team of folks here who are putting their expertise and knowledge and passion into the process of making chocolate. So
it is such a delicate, specific process. I mean, I've been through it a couple times now, and I'm reminded, oh, right, this is why I leave it to the professionals, because it's easy to mess up.
It's easy to mess up. And yeah, there are so many things that are simple, but also simple to screw up. So I think what is really true for chocolate, not exclusively, but it is the intersection of art and science. Emphasis on the science. So much science.
I know. It's so much that I was like, do you have a science background? I don't know that about you, if that's true.
Only chocolate science.
That's my best kind of science. I'll take that science any day. The temperature and the cooling, and if you cool it down too fast, it'll break. And, you know, this idea of tempering, I think that is a theoretical idea that I love, because you were just saying, like, the bonbons, you have to temper the chocolate, you have to work it slowly so things connect, right? So it's a process, it takes time. And then the bonbons, you fill that chocolate space, and then you dump most of it out and you let it dry, and then you fill it, and then you let the filling set, then you cap it and you let that dry, then you flip it out. You know, that's inconvenient.
It is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
A bonbon or a truffle, as a lot of people in the US call it. It's a small sculpture. It's like an edible jewel. It is a lot of work, and contemplating flavor combinations and creating these delicate emulsions of a ganache or a caramel, and the artistic expression of, you know, a different shape mold, or a hand painted with a colored cocoa butter, or a garnish of a little lavender bud or some kind of ingredient. There's so much hand work in making a bonbon. And I think that's like a big part of why it has become such a classic gift, a way to express love.
Right? We're taught to savor it. We see all those commercials on television, right? Where the woman looks into space. And
there are some moments that call for different styles of eating. And there are some moments where we have the space to really, you know, close our eyes and have a moment of anticipation where we start to, you know, salivate and get, feelings of excitement even before it, lands on our tongue, and it begins to melt, and we begin to smell the aromas and taste the flavors. Like it can be a whole journey akin to, you know, a wine tasting if you allow for that.
And you have the space for that. Yeah. To taste the nuances and to have a side-by-side chocolate tasting, that is that's a luxury. That's an abundance, but it's also this idea of slowing down. So tempering and making the bonbon and tasting chocolate beside each other. Chocolate requires you to slow down a little bit. And I don't think that's a luxury. So I have to ask you, this has gotten real big. And that's the Southern way to say it. I understand that the correct term is really big. But we're saying the Southern way. It's gotten real big. French broad chocolate is big. What is your next step? What are you hungry for right now? What's making you hungry?
Oh, man. I feel like hunger is a big part of my personality, for better and for worse. So I'm always hungry. I think in the context of French broad chocolates, I'm hungry for new flavors. I'm hungry for new aesthetics. I'm hungry for bringing life to new creations. I need a little new energy in what we're offering. So we're doing a lot of work right now to create some new chocolates that we've had the opportunity to begin sampling to people and starting to build that excitement
always so
out
fun,
in the world.
right?
It is so fun. It is so fun. I mean, chocolate is, as we've talked about, brings pleasure. That's the principal purpose. And to have the opportunity to consciously seek that connection and feedback loop, it's been really fun.
Yeah, I like that feedback loop. I feel like the pleasure of chocolate is compounded by caramel. I don't know why, but that is like that toffee, the caramel, that butter, like brown butter flavor with
heck yeah,
with that. Oh man,
we
love that stuff.
We make a brown butter milk chocolate. There's not caramel in it, but it has a caramely flavor profile because of the brown butter and combined with the sugar and the milk. So yeah, it is lovely. It did just win a Good Food Award this past weekend.
Congratulations! And it's a little Oscar for craft food. I love it. I love it. What is one aspect of this job that you literally made up for yourself that meshes with an aspect of your natural personality?
I think it is to do with building a community. I just came back. My partner, Dan, and I just came back from California, where we attended a chocolate festival where chocolate makers and cacao producers came from around the world to learn about cacao, to have these hard conversations about what's going on in the market, to feed each other chocolate. That was all lovely and, great industry vibes. But the real connection building was forged afterwards, where we organized for ourselves Chocolate Summer Camp, where 48 people from literally around the world, New Zealand to Norway to North Carolina, to continue my alliteration, came together. We drove from San Francisco 3 hours north to Mendocino, where we rented out a boys and girls summer camp, and we camped. We tie-dyed. We did archery.
Did you have bunk beds?
Trees. We had bunk beds. We handed out patches and bandanas. We did an untalent show.
Oh.
I mean, it was a full camp experience. And we did that because it builds our community. And building our community is good for our industry. It is not entirely separate from business objectives. To build that community of learning, of shared experience, of trust, of coming together for shared goals. We all want a healthier cocoa supply chain. In between the karaoke and the breathwork and the silver metal trays of pancakes and scrambled eggs, we are building meaningful connections and doing the work to build an industry. We've got lots of inspiration from a lot of other industries who have gone before us. But this is this connection building of gathering people and going deep with people for the purpose of connection is, yeah, that might be my special purpose.
Yeah, I think you're pretty good at that. I've always seen you do that. I haven't been at camp, but I'm always seeing you make connections between people and create space. I mean, that's French Broad Chocolate is a space for, you've created a space for a community to form around this thing that is pleasurable.
Right. We built a chocolate factory.
Yeah,
that's not a manufacturing plant exclusively. It's a place for education, for community, for storytelling, and for transparency.
Right. And also for ice cream.
And for ice cream. We make really good ice cream.
You make really good ice cream. Is there something that's keeping you up at night? Just one thing.
Yeah. It's the practical stuff, the financial sustainability of business can drain energy. And yes. I'm interested in shifting that focus from scarcity to abundance. I don't want that part of this journey to keep me up at night. But it is real. Money is real. Cash is real. Employee payroll is real.
Absolutely.
And that responsibility is, something that I hold very seriously. To be the steward of this ecosystem is it's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. It's only taken 14 years for me to get you on the mic, and I'm so grateful that we've had this time today. Really, honestly, truly, sincerely grateful. So this is the last question, and it is my magic picnic basket question. We ask about death row meals, right? What is the last meal that you'd like to have before you die? But over the years, that became weirder and weirder to me because I personally don't believe in the death penalty. So I didn't want to actually ask that question. I instead want to bring you some things that bring you life. And I believe that food is very generative, and food is life-giving, and sharing food with each other is life-giving. So this is a magic picnic basket. With it, I can time travel. I can go back and ask anybody to make one more bite of something you'd like to have again. I can source for you, and I can cook a little bit. And I know this changes with the seasons, and we're people who are very involved in eating and enjoying that. So it's going to shift and change. But I want to assure you, it doesn't have to be. I'd like to just put some things in that you love to enjoy and that you feel better after eating them. So what can I bring for you?
I feel pretty flexible on the what. I think for me, it's more in the who and the how. So I already talked, I love a collaborative meal. So the magic of a meal for me is when we don't have a plan, and someone says, I have beets and some basil and some feta. Oh, okay. I have lamb and,
this is already sounding amazing.
I just was handed this loaf of bread by my babysitter,
right.
And then when we come together, we have made a feast that is almost accidental, but is so nourishing because everybody has brought themselves to it.
I love that too. But I also think there's something surprising about it, right? When you bring your loaf of bread that the babysitter has, and then you get to sit down to this amazing meal, and you all look at each other and go, we did this. Look at what we just did. So great. What are you drinking with that?
Oh, I think my vibe with this magic picnic is going to be a lovely Oregon Pinot Noir.
Sounds great. I will bring something and make it even better. And that is a beautiful picnic basket. So with that, if people want to learn more about French Broad Chocolate and the really outstanding work that is happening here in Asheville, North Carolina, you know where to go. You can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have images there as well as links so you can connect directly. I would highly recommend visiting because it smells like chocolate in here, and I'm going to smell like chocolate all the way home in the car.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm so excited. I've spent so much time, and I just feel like I'm scented with chocolate. So please take time to dive into the archives. This is the perfect episode to share with a chocolate lover in your life. So I hope that you will take the opportunity to do that. All you got to do is hit that share button on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or, I don't know, Spotify. There's a lot of them, y'all. I'm on all the things. So thanks so much for being with me today. And I know you're a busy person and you've given me a lot of time. You're very generous. I appreciate it.
It has been joyful.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. If you remember, I mentioned in this episode that I smelled like chocolate because I had been in the chocolate factory for hours. And I'm going to tell you, I take every opportunity to visit a food factory whenever possible. I have loved factories and food production since I was a child and was jealous because my sister got to go to the Lay's potato chip factory in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we grew up, and I did not. That wasn't a field trip for my class, and she got to pick warm potato chips up right off the conveyor belt. Since then, it's been one of my secret or not so secret missions to visit food factories. And I've gone to a gummy worms and gummy bear factory. I've been to a Nutty Buddy factory, like those ice cream cones that are dipped in chocolate and sold as a novelty. I've been to pasta and, of course, all kinds of things for the Southern Fork. And chocolate is fascinating. What is so great about the chocolate factory at French Broad Chocolates is that there's a glass separating you so you can actually see chocolate production. Chocolate production is very, very finicky and takes multiple processes. You actually have to emulsify the fat with the actual cocoa. You have to keep them from separating again. There's a lot of stuff about mouthfeel and making sure things are creamy. Because think about it, if you're breaking down a seed, it would initially be gritty. So getting it to that creamy point is amazing and amazingly complicated. And at French Broad Chocolates, you can actually watch the whole process. They have great videos, but you see people working. It's great, and you don't have to don a hairnet and go through all of that. It's very fun. I'm not going to lie. I like to see vats of chocolate. I mean, that sounds like a good day to me. Food production is something that I'm extremely passionate about because here on the Southern Fork, I want to pull that curtain back. And I think that food production is really important, and me seeing food production is important to me bringing you interviews and episodes. It's really important for me that each week I have tasted the product or eaten at the restaurant that is the home of the chef I'm interviewing, that I've put my eyes on a farm and I've seen the process. Here at the Southern Fork, I like to do a lot of work for you behind the scenes because it's my work and it's super fun for me. But it also means that when you listen to an episode, you can assume that I already agree it's good. Thanks so much for listening. And yeah, potato chips and chocolate. That sounds like a good Friday to me. I'll be right here next week on the mic for you. Until then.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you gonna eat all that?